Have you ever wondered what it means to truly stand up for someone else, even if their role in your life might seem small? This is a tale that explores the depths of integrity, respect, and the unexpected ripples that one act of kindness can cause. Lee Min-ho, a name synonymous with fame and adoration in the world of Korean entertainment, was known not just for his captivating roles but also for his humility off-screen. However, this story isn't centered around Min-ho himself, but around someone often unnoticed in his entourage, his driver, Kim Jae-hwan. Jae-hwan had been driving for Min-ho for over a decade. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and understanding, with Jae-hwan priding himself on his discretion and reliability. Despite his critical role, he often remained in the background, a silent witness to the glitz and glamour that surrounded his employer. One evening, Min-ho decided to dine at an upscale restaurant in Seoul after a film premiere. As usual, Jae-hwan drove him there. While Min-ho entered amidst flashes of cameras, Jae-hwan parked the car and decided to grab a bite in a quieter part of the restaurant, designated for staff and less distinguished guests. As Jae-hwan seated himself at a small table in the corner, a young waiter, perhaps new and unaware of who Jae-hwan was, approached him. The restaurant, known for its excellent service, seemed to falter that night. The waiter looked disdainfully at Jae-hwan's modest attire and muttered under his breath about drivers taking up space for esteemed guests. Jae-hwan, hearing this, simply nodded and asked for a menu, his voice calm but slightly edged. The waiter rolled his eyes, tossed a menu onto the table, and walked away, leaving Jae-hwan sitting there, slightly shaken but composed. Despite the disrespect, Jae-hwan decided to stay, driven by a long-standing habit of patience and forbearance. Meanwhile, Min-ho, seated in a private section, noticed the delay in his driver's return and grew concerned. Excusing himself from his company, he went to check on Jae-hwan and arrived just in time to witness another encounter between Jae-hwan and the rude waiter. This time, the waiter openly questioned Jae-hwan's presence in the restaurant, suggesting he should eat somewhere more suitable. Min-ho's presence changed the air immediately. The waiter, recognizing him, turned pale and stammered an apology. But Min-ho wasn't interested in the apology directed at him. Instead, he addressed the waiter with a stern calmness that demanded attention. "Everyone in this room deserves respect," Min-ho said loudly enough for other diners to hear, his voice steady and commanding. "This man," he continued, placing a hand on Jae-hwan's shoulder, "is not only my driver but also my esteemed colleague. He represents me whenever he is on duty and even beyond. How you treat him reflects directly on your respect for me and for everyone else you serve." The whole restaurant fell into a hushed silence, with every patron and staff member hanging on to Min-ho's every word. The young waiter was at a loss for words, his face a mix of shame and newfound understanding. Min-ho then turned to Jae-hwan, thanked him for his years of service, and insisted that they leave together to dine somewhere they could both be appreciated. As they left, the restaurant manager rushed over to apologize profusely, promising to address the matter seriously. This incident, though small in the grand scheme of things, became a defining moment for Jae-hwan. It was not just about a famous actor standing up for his driver, it was about recognizing the dignity in every role, no matter how seemingly insignificant. The story spread quickly, not just through the restaurant but across social media, sparking discussions about respect, dignity, and the true measure of a person's worth. Jae-hwan, who had always stayed in the background, found himself an unlikely hero and a symbol of quiet strength. The message was clear and resonated deeply across all walks of life: everyone deserves respect, and standing up for this principle can inspire others to rethink and perhaps change their own behaviors. This single act of solidarity in a high-end restaurant in Seoul left a legacy that echoed far beyond its walls, reminding us that kindness and respect should have no boundaries. As the story of Lee Min-ho standing up for his driver Kim Jae-hwan circulated online, it sparked not only admiration but also introspection among those who read it. People began sharing their own stories of witnessing or experiencing disrespect based on job titles, appearances, or background, and how this incident inspired them to act differently. In the following weeks, Jae-hwan received numerous messages from strangers expressing gratitude and support. They told him how the story had moved them, how it made them think twice about their actions and attitudes towards others. Jae-hwan, who had always kept a low profile, found himself overwhelmed but deeply touched by the impact of that evening. Meanwhile, the restaurant faced its own set of challenges. The incident with Min-ho and Jae-hwan led to a broader discussion about the establishment's policies and the training of their staff. The manager, Mr. Choi, took immediate action to ensure that such an incident would never occur again. He introduced new training programs focused on respect, inclusivity, and the importance of treating every individual with dignity, regardless of their role or status. Mr. Choi also invited Jae-hwan back to the restaurant, this time as a guest of honor. During his visit, he was treated with the utmost respect and courtesy, showing the staff's commitment to change and growth. This event was covered by local media, further illustrating the restaurant's efforts to rectify their mistake and their commitment to improvement. This gesture of reconciliation was well received, and the restaurant slowly began to regain the trust of its clientele. The staff, who were initially defensive, started to embrace the new training, realizing that the respect they showed could significantly enhance the dining experience for everyone involved. As for Min-ho, his act of standing up for Jae-hwan elevated his status not just as a celebrity but as a genuine role model. He used this incident as a platform to speak more broadly about respect and kindness in society, joining campaigns and speaking at events about the importance of empathy and understanding across all levels of interaction. Months later, at a film industry gala, Min-ho was given an award for his contributions both on and off the screen. During his acceptance speech, he dedicated a portion of his time to acknowledge Jae-hwan, who was present in the audience. Min-ho's words were poignant. "This award is not just for my work in film but also for the people who support me in every aspect of my life. Jae-hwan here is more than just my driver, he is my friend, my confidant, and a reminder of the humility and respect we all owe to one another, regardless of our status or role." The crowd gave Jae-hwan a standing ovation, a moment that he never imagined would happen in his life. It was a powerful affirmation not only of Min-ho's words but of the changes that had been set in motion since that night at the restaurant. This story, which began with a simple yet painful act of disrespect, evolved into a profound lesson on the power of dignity and respect. It reminded people that every individual holds value, that kindness can transform situations, and that standing up for what is right, no matter how small it may seem, can create waves that touch the lives of many. In the end, this wasn't just Jae-hwan's story, or Min-ho's story, it was a story about the potential for humanity to grow and the enduring impact of treating all individuals with the respect they deserve. It showed that silence in the face of disrespect is not an option when one carries the ability to make a change, a lesson that resonated far beyond the confines of a high-end restaurant in Seoul. From that moment forward, the narrative of dignity and respect transcended the confines of personal interactions and began to influence broader societal norms. Discussions about workplace ethics, the importance of every role within a company, and the universal right to respect became more prevalent in forums, workshops, and even in policy discussions. Schools and universities started incorporating lessons about respect and the value of every individual into their curricula. Teachers used Jae-hwan's story as a case study to teach students about empathy and the impact of their words and actions. The story was not just told as an event that happened in a distant place but as a relatable, instructive scenario that could occur in any setting. Business leaders, influenced by the public's reaction to the incident at the restaurant, began to re-evaluate their own company cultures. Many introduced new HR policies that emphasized respect and inclusivity, recognizing that a happy and respected workforce drives better business outcomes. Corporate training sessions now regularly included segments on how to treat all colleagues with dignity, inspired by the transformation seen in the restaurant that had once disrespected Jae-hwan. In the entertainment industry, where the story had first begun, changes were particularly noticeable. Other celebrities, inspired by Lee Min-ho's stand, began to publicly support their own teams, highlighting the often overlooked work of their staff in interviews and on social media. This shift helped to break down barriers between different roles within the industry and fostered a more inclusive environment. As the anniversary of the incident approached, a notable magazine decided to feature Jae-hwan in a special edition focused on unsung heroes. The feature not only recounted the story of that night but also delved into Jae-hwan's life, his dreams, and how the incident had changed him. He spoke about the numerous letters of support he had received and how they had given him a new perspective on his own worth and the importance of standing up for oneself. During the interview, Jae-hwan shared, "I used to think that being in the background was just my place in the world. But now I see that everyone has a role to play in making society better, no matter where they stand. I'm grateful that my story has touched so many lives." This feature spurred a new wave of social initiatives aimed at recognizing and celebrating the roles of those who work behind the scenes in various sectors. Companies and communities started award programs for unsung heroes, acknowledging individuals who contribute silently but significantly to success and well-being. Lee Min-ho continued to advocate for respect and kindness, his message resonating even more following the social changes inspired by his actions. He established a foundation dedicated to promoting dignity and respect in workplaces, schools, and public spaces, using the story of that night as a cornerstone for its mission. In reflection, the incident in the restaurant, a moment of acute disrespect, had catalyzed a movement. It wasn't just about a celebrity standing up for his driver anymore, it had grown into a societal call to action to recognize the value of every person. The ripple effects of that single moment of solidarity and respect continued to expand, touching lives across the nation and beyond. The story of Lee Min-ho and Jae-hwan, thus, turned into a lasting legacy, a testament to the power of recognizing and defending the inherent worth of every individual, no matter their job or status. It stood as a beacon, reminding everyone that change starts with a single act of courage, respect, and kindness. As the legacy of that fateful evening continued to unfold, the story of Lee Min-ho and Jae-hwan became a symbol of hope and transformation. It was a narrative that transcended cultural and societal boundaries, inspiring people from various walks of life to re-evaluate their own behaviors and the norms of their environments. One such inspired individual was a school principal in a small town far from Seoul. Moved by the story, she decided to implement a Respect Week at her school, where students and staff focused on activities that promoted understanding and appreciation for each other's roles and contributions. The week included workshops, role-playing sessions, and guest speakers who emphasized the importance of respect and kindness in everyday interactions. This initiative proved to be immensely successful, fostering a positive school culture that significantly reduced instances of bullying and improved student and teacher relationships. The principal shared the success of the program on social media, where it quickly gained attention from educational leaders nationwide who were eager to introduce similar programs in their schools. In another part of the world, a small business owner restructured his company's operations to ensure that every employee, from the janitors to the senior managers, was acknowledged and valued. He introduced regular appreciation days where team members celebrated each other's hard work and dedication. This not only boosted morale but also increased productivity and loyalty among the staff. The business owner credited the story of Lee Min-ho and Jae-hwan as his inspiration, highlighting how a simple act of respect could yield profound changes within any organization. Back in Seoul, the restaurant where the original incident occurred had become a model of excellence in customer service and employee satisfaction. They hosted monthly forums where other businesses could come and learn about their journey towards inclusivity and respect. These forums included discussions, training sessions, and Q&A segments with Jae-hwan, who shared his personal experiences and insights on the importance of treating all individuals with dignity. The impact of Jae-hwan's story also reached the legislative level. A group of lawmakers, touched by the widespread positive response to the incident, proposed a new bill aimed at enhancing workplace equality and respect. This bill, known as the Dignity in Work Act, sought to establish clear guidelines and consequences for disrespect and discrimination in the workplace. It emphasized the need for training and education in promoting a respectful working environment. As these changes took root, the media continued to follow the story, providing updates and highlighting stories of individuals and organizations that had been influenced by Lee Min-ho and Jae-hwan. Documentaries were produced, and articles were written, each adding to the narrative of positive change inspired by a moment of defended dignity. The anniversary of the incident eventually became known as Respect Day, celebrated in various communities with events and activities that promoted kindness and understanding among people. On the first anniversary, Lee Min-ho and Jae-hwan were invited to speak at a major event organized in Seoul, attended by thousands, including dignitaries, celebrities, and citizens from all walks of life. Standing on the stage, Lee Min-ho looked out over the crowd, his heart full of emotion. Beside him, Jae-hwan stood proudly, a humble man who had unknowingly sparked a revolution of respect and kindness. In his speech, Lee Min-ho reflected on the journey they had embarked upon together. "Tonight, we celebrate not just a story of respect, but a movement that has changed lives," Lee Min-ho said. "It all started with one moment, one choice to stand up for what is right. Let us continue to carry this legacy forward, making respect and kindness not just an act, but a way of life." The applause was deafening, the cheers a testament to a society transformed. From a quiet evening at a restaurant to a global movement, the story of Lee Min-ho and Jae-hwan continued to inspire, reminding everyone of the profound impact that respect for one another can have on the world. As the echoes of the applause faded in the grand hall, Jae-hwan, standing beside Lee Min-ho, felt an overwhelming sense of pride and purpose. He had once believed his role as a driver was just a backdrop to the lives of the more visible and celebrated. But now, standing on this stage, he realized that his story had catalyzed a significant shift in perception, not just for himself but for countless others in seemingly modest positions. The evening continued with stories from individuals who had implemented changes in their own lives and communities, inspired by the respect shown to Jae-hwan. A young teacher shared how she had started a mentorship program for students to learn about empathy and respect through role-playing. A factory worker recounted how he initiated a peer recognition program that had drastically improved morale and productivity at his workplace. As these stories were shared, it became clear that the incident at the restaurant had become more than just a moment of advocacy. It had sparked a societal reawakening to the essential human need for respect and dignity. In the weeks that followed, the Respect Day celebrations and the speeches made by Lee Min-ho and Jae-hwan were broadcasted across various media platforms, reaching millions globally. The message resonated with people from different cultures and backgrounds, prompting an international dialogue about respect in the global community. Organizations worldwide started to adopt similar initiatives. An international conglomerate introduced a new policy ensuring that all employees, regardless of their position, received equal opportunities for recognition and professional development. This policy was directly inspired by Lee Min-ho's advocacy and Jae-hwan's experience, illustrating the global impact of their story. Meanwhile, back in Korea, Jae-hwan received invitations to speak at various events and seminars about his journey. He became a symbol of dignity and resilience, empowering others to stand up for respect in their own lives. Universities and corporate training programs sought his insights, eager to incorporate his experiences into their curricula and training modules. One day, during a seminar on workplace ethics, Jae-hwan met a young man who admitted he had previously overlooked the contributions of his support staff. Inspired by Jae-hwan's story, he had changed his approach, fostering a more inclusive and respectful workplace. This encounter was a poignant reminder for Jae-hwan of the tangible changes his shared experience had generated. As the momentum continued, Lee Min-ho's foundation flourished, funding projects and programs dedicated to fostering respect and kindness across various sectors. The foundation also partnered with tech companies to develop educational apps focused on teaching children about respect and empathy from a young age, ensuring that the message would perpetuate through generations. The impact of that night at the restaurant and the subsequent movement it sparked was profound. It had not only altered Jae-hwan's life but had also touched the lives of millions, creating a tapestry of stories woven together by the common threads of respect and human dignity. Years later, Jae-hwan wrote a book detailing his journey from a humble driver to an international advocate for respect. The book became a bestseller, further spreading the message and inspiring others to act with kindness and consideration. As Jae-hwan reflected on his journey during a book signing, a young woman approached him, her eyes brimming with tears. She shared how his story had encouraged her to stand up against unfair treatment in her own workplace, changing the company's culture for the better. It was moments like this that reaffirmed Jae-hwan's belief in the power of one person to make a difference. In the grand tapestry of human interactions, the story of Lee Min-ho and Jae-hwan remained a powerful testament to the impact of standing up for others. It continued to inspire acts of kindness and respect, echoing the foundational truth that every individual deserves dignity. Through their journey, they had not only transformed their own lives but had also ignited a global movement, proving that respect, indeed, could change the world. As Jae-hwan's book tour progressed, each stop brought new faces, each with their own stories of transformation influenced by his and Lee Min-ho's example. The narrative of the humble driver who had stood up for respect had now woven itself into the fabric of countless other lives, creating a ripple effect of positive change across the globe. In one city, a community leader organized a panel discussion featuring Jae-hwan, where local business owners, educators, and public servants gathered to share strategies for integrating respect into their daily operations. The event was televised, and Jae-hwan's heartfelt words resonated deeply with the audience. "It's about seeing the humanity in each other," he stated, "regardless of our roles or statuses." The panel led to the creation of a community pledge where businesses and schools committed to uphold principles of respect and dignity. They agreed to regular check-ins and community forums to ensure these values were actively practiced, not just preached. This initiative, sparked by Jae-won's visit, soon became a model for other communities. Meanwhile, Lee Min-ho, inspired by his driver's journey and the widespread impact they had achieved together, decided to produce a documentary focusing on stories of respect and kindness from around the world. The project featured individuals who, like Jae-won, had sparked significant changes by standing up for respect in various sectors including healthcare, education, and industry. As the documentary was released, it garnered international acclaim for its powerful storytelling and its poignant message that respect can indeed be a transformative force. Schools around the world began to use the documentary as a teaching tool, and corporations included it in their training programs to emphasize the importance of a respectful workplace culture. Back in Seoul, the restaurant where it all began continued to honor the legacy of that transformative night. They established an annual scholarship program for culinary students who demonstrated a commitment to fostering an environment of respect and inclusivity in the food industry. Jae-won was invited annually to award the scholarship, sharing his story and the importance of dignity in every interaction. Years passed, and the world continued to evolve, but the core message of Jae-won and Lee Min-ho's story remained timeless and increasingly relevant. Universities began to study the respect movement as a pivotal case in social change, analyzing how the actions of one person could influence a global shift in consciousness. During one such lecture at a prestigious university, a professor invited Jae-won to speak to the students. His presence filled the lecture hall with a palpable sense of inspiration. He spoke not only of his past experiences but also of the ongoing journey and the continuous effort required to sustain this movement. Respect is not a one-time act, he told the students, it's a continuous commitment that starts with each of us, every day. The students were moved by his words, and many approached him afterward, eager to share how they intended to incorporate respect into their future careers, whether in business, education, or public service. Each student represented a new thread in the growing tapestry of the respect movement. As Jae-won returned home that evening, his heart was full. The world had changed in many ways since that night at the restaurant, and he had changed with it. No longer just a driver, but a catalyst for a global movement, he reflected on the power of respect and the responsibility that came with it. Looking out at the city lights, Jae-won realized that his story, intertwined with Lee Min-ho's support, had taught him an invaluable lesson. Every individual holds the potential to influence their environment positively, regardless of their role or status. The respect they championed was not just about recognizing the dignity in others but also about fostering one's self-respect and standing up for what is right. As the respect movement continued to grow, it remained a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of human kindness and dignity. Through their journey, Lee Min-ho and Jae-won had not only transformed their own lives but had also ignited a global movement, proving that indeed, respect could change the world. And so, the narrative of Lee Min-ho and Jae-won continued to unravel, touching hearts and inspiring minds beyond geographical and cultural boundaries. Each interaction, each story told and retold, was a spark in the ever-growing flame of the respect movement. The following year, a significant event took place. The United Nations, recognizing the profound impact of the respect movement, decided to host a global forum on the power of respect and dignity in fostering peace and cooperation among nations. Lee Min-ho and Jae-won were invited as keynote speakers, a testament to their contributions to this global shift in consciousness. Standing before world leaders, diplomats, and activists, Jae-won shared his journey, from the humility of his early days as a driver to becoming an emblematic figure in the quest for global respect. His words were simple yet profound, resonating deeply with his audience. Respect is the simplest form of peace, and it begins with understanding and acknowledging the worth of every individual. Lee Min-ho, sharing the stage with Jae-won, spoke of the arts and media's role in shaping societies that honor and uphold dignity. Through our films, our music, and our stories, we have the power to build bridges of understanding and to showcase the strength that lies in our diversity, he said. This powerful message underscored the importance of cultural influencers in the movement for respect and global change. The forum concluded with the adoption of the Global Respect Declaration, a commitment by attending nations to integrate respect and dignity into their educational systems, workplaces, and legal frameworks. Lee Min-ho and Jae-won's influence was evident in this historic document, which would guide future generations towards a more respectful and peaceful world. Back in Seoul, the impact of their journey was visible in various community initiatives. Schools had begun incorporating lessons on empathy and respect into their curricula, using Jaehwan's story as a case study. Corporations had established annual awards for employees who exemplified respect and integrity in their interactions, a direct inspiration from Jaehwan's handling of the incident at the restaurant. Moreover, the restaurant where it all began had transformed into a community hub, known not only for its culinary excellence but also for its commitment to fostering a respectful and inclusive atmosphere. Portraits of Lee Min-ho and Jaehwan adorned the walls, a constant reminder of the night that sparked a global movement. As the years passed, Jaehwan continued to travel, speak, and inspire. Each city he visited, each person he spoke to, added layers to the narrative, enriching the movement with new perspectives and stories. His humility and genuine approach made him not just a speaker, but a listener, always eager to learn from the experiences of others. One such encounter was with Maria, a school principal from Brazil, who shared how Jaehwan's story had inspired her to transform her school's approach to discipline into one based on mutual respect and understanding. Moved by her dedication, Jaehwan invited Maria to share her story at an international educators' conference, further spreading the influence of the respect movement. Lee Min-ho, on the other hand, continued to use his platform in the entertainment industry to promote stories of kindness and respect. His films and television shows, infused with these themes, reached millions, subtly weaving the principles of the respect movement into the fabric of global pop culture. As the narrative of Lee Min-ho and Jaehwan unfolded, it became clear that their impact was not fleeting but deeply embedded in the consciousness of all they had touched. Their story was no longer just their own but belonged to anyone who had been moved to act, to change, and to propagate the ethos of respect and dignity. In a world often divided by differences, the respect movement, championed by a humble driver and a famous actor, stood as a beacon of hope and unity. It reminded people that at the heart of all interaction is the potential for respect, understanding, and peace. Through their continued efforts, Lee Min-ho and Jaehwan had not only changed their own lives but had also ignited a spark that could indeed change the world, proving that respect, nurtured and shared, could bridge the widest of divides. This global transformation, catalyzed by Lee Min-ho and Jaehwan, was evident not just in grand declarations or international forums, but in the daily lives of individuals around the world. In a small town in Italy, a group of young entrepreneurs founded a startup focused on creating respectful communication tools. They developed an app that facilitated respectful dialogue in workplaces, inspired by Jaehwan's story and the principles of the respect movement. This app quickly became popular, used by companies globally to foster a healthier work environment. Meanwhile, in a rural village in India, a teacher named Ananya introduced her students to the documentary produced by Lee Min-ho. Moved by Jaehwan's narrative, she started a community project where students engaged